Well, good afternoon. It's April 9th. We are a couple of weeks away from our town meeting, which is coming up on April 27th, Monday night, 6:30 sharp. Certainly, you may want to get there a little bit early. Hopefully, we'll have a nice big crowd. We do need to have at least 100 people in order to establish quorum. Without 100 people, we'll not be able to do our town's business. So please attend. Let's make it a great turnout. Let's have good discussion about some really important issues. This particular roundtable is going to be really brief. This is what I call the helicopter view. For some folks, this will be the first time that they will see the warrant. It was publicly posted on our website, the Groveland Town website, this afternoon. And this is the approved warrant. So I'm going to go through it a little bit at a time. I won't do any deep dive into any specific article. On roundtable number 4, 5, and 6, I will do a bit of a deep dive in some selected articles, and I'll do it by interviewing 3 public officials. So that'll be next week. I'm going to record them on and post them on April 13th, Monday, and April 14th. So here we are on April 9th. For your pleasure, let me present our annual town meeting warrant. And again, just a helicopter view, a little bit of light education, give you an opportunity to see what it looks like. And absolutely, I do strongly urge you to go to our website and click on the right-hand side, the annual town meeting warrant. You'll see it there. Go through it. If you feel that you need to make changes to any of the articles, there is a procedure to do that. There is a form. I explained that in detail in Roundtable 2, and that's about a 20-minute session that you can look up, or simply give me a call or send me an email and I'll walk you through the process. I'll even send you the form in advance. So here we are, 6 major segments of our town meeting warrant. We have matters that are general government matters. There'll be some things we need to vote on. We will have quite a few items to take a look at for general bylaws. We need to look at some zoning bylaws. There's a couple of significant articles and topics that we need to treat in that segment. We have community preservation. We have appropriations. And then we have the enterprise fund. So there are the 6 major categories. General government matters, number 1. General bylaw, number 2. Zoning bylaw, number 3. Community preservation 4, appropriations 5, enterprise fund 6. We have plenty of attachments and appendixes to go into blood-curdling details for those of you that would like to do a closer look. And again, it makes sense to maybe take a look at this document before you walk in the door, or you can be there early. I'll be there at 5 o'clock. The meeting kicks off at 6:30. I'll be there to address any questions. I'll be available also to help you understand the process of how you can amend or make a change to an existing article. I'll have the form. You'll even have an opportunity to fill out the form in advance. I cannot offer you any substantive advice on whether to be pro or against any article, but technically I can help you write out the amendment form if you do want to make a change so that we have a smooth transition. And that is when we vote for a motion that a citizen would like to change. So pretty significant process. That was a new change that came in last year. And we want to make it a little bit smoother this year. So I'm asking people to read the warrant, get ready. If you want to make a change, contact me or see me early at the meeting so that we can get prepared so that you can make a great pitch with your excellent idea or suggestion for making something better or making it different to benefit the town. Article 1 will deal with just routine matters here, the different positions that are available, what the terms are. Article 2 is going to require a two-thirds majority. There's only a few items that require two-thirds. Everything else is simple majority, meaning we need 51% or more. But on a few matters, we do need to have a two-thirds majority. This is one of them. This article authorizes the town to place the above referenced parcel under conservation restrictions. So you want to take a look at this. If you have some ideas about speaking to this or any other article and are unsure on how to prepare, again, I can't give you any pro or con or favorable or unfavorable, but if you need some assistance, or if you just simply want to understand some of these articles a little bit better, just simply let me know. Article 2 is also going to be part of that segment called General Government Matters. With Article 2, let's go to Article 2. We're going to have another, we're going to have, this is I'm sorry, this is the one I just reviewed regarding the conservation restriction on Wood Street. Article 3, this is an important issue for some people. We have an issue with the 3 residential units located at 199 Washington Street. So read this article, get familiar with it, reach out to the select board, reach out to town administrator, reach out to me if you have any questions about that. Again, if you want to make some changes, see me before the meeting. If you'd like, you can even contact me before. This way here, we can get ready and get things lined up efficiently. You're comfortable to be able to advocate the way that you wish to advocate, either for or against any article, and especially if you do want to make changes. Article 4 is another conservation commission to rent on-site buildings at VC Park, an important article. Number 5 here, we have something that requires potentially a two-third majority. Let me just double check because that might not, one of these has changed, so just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me. Okay, just on Article 5. Yes, we're going to keep that as a two-third. I'm going to make myself a note, my little cheat sheet that you're going to see me flipping at the podium. Majority, two-thirds majority is required for a change to the use of land on 196 Keene Street. Then we go into the next big segment called general bylaws. And this is a big segment. You know, we do have an opportunity as a small town to use town meeting as an opportunity for the residents to vote an open outcry. This is a 400-year-old system using town meeting. It's one of the few remaining true democratic processes left on the planet. And we hold to these traditions. So these articles are important. These decisions are important. And nobody has the authority other than the people that attend town meeting to make decisions. So none of these decisions rest with any board or any commission or the town administrator. They rest with you. And town meeting is a participation sport. People need to show up. Town meeting is a legislative body. Just like a Congress is a legislative body, just like the Senate at the State House or the Senate in Washington is a legislative body. The only thing that's unusual is it's created for one night per year. And sometimes if we can't complete all of our business or additional business comes up, we may have to have a second town meeting in the year called a special town meeting. But that town meeting, when it's formed on that evening, is a legislative body with the authority to make and pass measures that are really important to our town. So general bylaw, here we go. Number 6, we're doing some stuff here regarding capital improvement plan, and it gets a little bit detailed here. Article 7, we're personnel bylaw. We're certainly going to be treating some important issues. Now, when you read the warrant article, whether you read the paper version when you come into the meeting or whether you're looking online, you're going to see sections that are crossed out. And that's what happens here. These warrants basically are going to be built on former language that's been eliminated and then replaced with new language. So just be familiar with that. You kind of almost have to get used to seeing that. It's very unusual to see something that doesn't apply. Like right here, the select board may propose new, amended, or revised policies. Any such proposed policy may be all of that's been lined out. That doesn't apply. We're not going to debate that. We're not even going to discuss it, and we certainly aren't going to vote on it. However, the language that replaces the line items is the warrant. I'm sorry, is the article, and that's what we need to discuss. Now, just a reminder, if after we have a motion to put an article on the floor, if you will, and I ask for, is there a motion, and somebody will introduce the article and then I'll ask for a second. If somebody says, yeah, I seconded, well, the next thing I'm going to say is there any discussion? Now, sometimes the discussion will be led by the people who have promoted or sponsored the article. And if you have an opinion about it, certainly you will be given opportunity to approach the microphone. And at the microphone, I'll ask you who you are and what street address you live on. If you come up again the second or third time for other matters or even the same matter, I'll just ask for your name. You don't have to constantly repeat, where you live. So, but for the record, we do at least once need to have your name and your address, because we're not going to allow non-residents to speak at town meeting or present unless those that have an exemption, and the exemption will basically be staff, will be the attorney, could be the building inspector, will be probably a subject matter specialist that will help us understand the issue or the article, and they're probably in the employ of our town, but do not live in our town. So that's important. Article 9, we're going to try to see if the town will make our animal and fowl licensing and of dogs and bylaws compliant with. So the licensing of dogs and kennels, I think what we're trying to do here this year is we want to make it compliant to or lined up with what's called Ollie's law. And I'm not going to go over that here. Again, I'm trying to just do a simple overview here, a helicopter view. So take a look at that. We're going to look at Article 10. Article 10, right to farm. There's been some very interesting meetings, a lot of discussion. People are very passionate about a few articles. This is probably one of them. So be familiar with this article. Read through it. I always feel that the best way to learn about any one of these articles is go to the bottom first. At the very end, you have a summary. And the summary will help you get a little bit of an idea of what this warrant is all about. Because sometimes the language, well, maybe oftentimes, the language is quite technical. Now, keep in mind, this year, it is possible that we might do what we did last year at the beginning of the meeting. There might be a motion to suspend reading the articles. And if that is approved by town meeting, the only thing that I won't suspend, which I feel is important, is I would like either myself or somebody else to read the summary. So we might suspend reading the entire article. Some of these are quite long. That's why I ask people, do some homework if you can, follow the roundtables, follow the meetings, but more importantly, pull this document off the website, slide it onto your desktop. You don't have to print it. You can save some trees, but look it over and get familiar with it. Because if we do suspend reading the articles, I'm going to go and I'm going to ask others to read, if I don't read it myself, go right to the summary, and then we're going to go right into voting, discussing, and so forth. Well, actually, discussing and then voting. So Article 11, this is probably a significant issue in our town, to see if the town will vote to delete marijuana establishments. This is one of the articles that I'm going to do a deep dive on next week with one public official who can help us understand this article really, really well. Now, the next section, number 3, zoning bylaws. Notice that Article 12 is also related to marijuana establishments. This article here is interesting because I just spent quite a bit of time with two other roundtables explaining to folks that if there's going to be a change on one of the articles, in other words, if someone would like to step forward and make a change, we have to use a form and we have to go through a process that I won't explain here, but it is explained pretty simplistically, hopefully. I've got some good feedback. People seem to understand it once they followed that instruction that I provided on roundtable 2. But this one here, probably there's going to be what's called a modified motion. So there are procedures that are available at town meeting that without having to fill out a form to change an article through amendment, it can be delivered by the folks who sponsor the article right from the outset with what's called a modified motion, meaning that the language will provide some details that could be a little bit different than what you see here. So stay tuned for that. Pay attention to that. This is a pretty significantly long article. And, again, that's what I like about summaries. Start with the summary first, look it over. If you have any questions, send the message to town administrator, send the message to me, send the message to the select board. Try to get as educated as possible to be able to make an important decision about this. Required also a 2/3 vote on this one. Article 13, Groveland's zoning bylaw. This is a service establishment. And it is also, this is an article that was submitted by the building inspector. It is part of this very long article regarding marijuana establishments. Article 13, to see if the town will amend the Groveland zoning bylaw. Article 2, section 1, terms defined to include a definition of service establishment personnel. So that is not related to the marijuana. So a correction there. This also requires a 2/3. So what is this about? The current zoning bylaw does not include provisions allowing service establishments such as hair salons. However, these uses exist in town as they were legally established prior to the adoption of zoning regulations. This article seeks to amend the zoning bylaw to explicitly permit such uses moving forward. So some of this is really interesting. So we've got some things in place. We're trying to get them clarified, and so that the transparency factor is increased and people will have opportunities in our town to establish businesses. And everybody, I think, agrees. I think everybody agrees that we do welcome businesses in this town. We should certainly, without changing the character of the town, we want to invite businesses to help us share in the revenues that are required to support the town, so that homeowners are not the only or primarily the only providers of funds to pay for everything. So Article 14, to see if the town will vote to approve an amendment, Groveland zoning bylaw regarding planned unit developments. A little technical here. This is the additions of this footnote clarifies that any proposed planned unit development will be required to comply with the town's inclusionary zoning bylaw. I'm not going to go into definition. Probably some folks that I will call on one of the commissions or boards will explain this article and what inclusionary zoning bylaw is. To number 15, Article 15, to see if the town will vote to amend the Groveland zoning bylaw. Again, a lot of amendments for common driveways. It says here bold is new. So the language that you see that we're going to be making a motion on, that we're going to have discussion on, that we're going to vote on is not the crossed out words, it's the bold new words. So you can see here crossed out words and then the bold stuff. That's what's important. Common driveways, very interesting topic. Read this over, get familiar with it. And again, sorry to be repetitive. You have a question, reach out to the select board, reach out to town administrator, reach out to me. will help you understand this. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to amend Groveland zoning bylaw. Again, another zoning bylaw for dwelling 3 to 4 unit mixed use. So this is technical. Read it over. This requires a 2/3 majority. The building inspector, you can see now the building inspector, I'm going to call on the building inspector on a couple of these because he's a subject matter specialist. Now, he's not a resident of Groveland, but he's got the special exemption, if you will, that he will be one of the few non-resident folks who I will call on to be able to speak to an article. Our town council is not a resident of our town. Well, certainly, I probably will end up talking to him, not talking to him, but asking him to come forward and help us with a few things. So this is really, again, helicopter view. The next big section, community preservation. I'm going to do a deep dive with another public official next week. We're going to go over the community preservation articles, CPA accounts, CPA funds, how monies are being applied, what the ask is. I call it the ask. They're asking for available funds to be used for specific things. So these are really important because the CPA, whether some folks support it or not, really has changed the character of the town and has allowed us to fund things specifically for open space, historic preservation, and community housing. So that's always, to me, it's an exciting area because I think that we have a very special town. We've got a great history. We've got opportunities to preserve the past through some of the structures that have been built here. We have great open space that needs to be protected. And so the community preservation is a pretty significant area. Perry Park is an historical site. There's an article about that. Pine Recreation. We have some ideas to increase the lighting, but make it very neighborhood friendly. So there's some technical information there as well. And you can see with all the articles, excuse me, not all the articles, but most of the articles, you'll have a board that has dealt with that issue, and then they will come in advance. They're communicating to us in advance and say, you know what, we're in favor of this, or we're not in favor of this. So that's important. Shanahan Field bathrooms, Washington Park bathrooms. These are all things that increase the quality of our life here in Groveland. A Groveland Community Garden, this is all under community preservation. We have a crosstown trail project. You'll notice that the proposed crosstown trail will create a continuous recreational path stretching from Main Street along an existing easement from Nichols Village across trails. Some people don't like this idea. I welcome them to come to the meeting. You will have a voice. Some people like this idea. I welcome you to the meeting. You will have a voice. I will do everything in my power to have a balanced, respectful, courteous exchange of ideas. Appropriations. This is where the money is. This is where the money is dealt with in our town meetings. This is where, okay, where do we spend the money that we have? So it's a little bit of it is routine, but you'll see that you'll have an opportunity here to be able to take a look at where spending limits are, what the spending limits are, what is being funded by what amount. So go through these. These are pretty important. Some of them are pretty large, pretty significant. Here's one here to see if the town will transfer 1 million and 33,124 from free cash to the following accounts: to fund the stabilization fund, for municipal building improvements, for personnel buyback accounts. It's a little detailed. It's a little granular. I think that's the word. But there's nothing wrong with any one of us becoming familiar with this and getting comfortable with it. And also, this is always important to me. I feel that we as citizens need to have an opportunity to understand how our government leaders feel about all of these major issues, and even the minor ones. Are they for it? Are they against it? I am pleased to tell you that this year, where there are two boards, we don't have an article that one was for and one was against. I think that that's important. We also don't have an article where a board takes a neutral position, say, you know what, we're neither for or against it. You guys figure it out. So I think that that's a really good thing. I think it's a very powerful statement when government comes together and they hash out the details and then they agree together so that we as citizens at least will have an expert opinion, an executive decision made. We don't have to agree or disagree either way, but at least we have an opportunity to see, where government leaders stand. This is a big one here, $2.6 million to fix up our town hall complex. That's an interesting one. 33, the town will vote to appropriate or transfer from the PEG access cable related fund. So, we do get money from the cable company, and what do we do with it? Are we improving our infrastructure? Are we investing in our services and supplies and taking care of the salaries and equipment? Things are important. And again, there's no authority in Groveland to decide this. It's 100 or more people that show up that one night, creating that legislative body for one night. So please attend. Let's have 150 to 200 people. That would be great. Now, this could be controversial for some folks. The way we handle the budget is not a line item budget. In the past, there's been opportunities for members of the public to raise their hand and say, I want to make a change inside one of those lines. So let's say that, I'm just going to make this up. Somebody has a real strong feeling that a public official's salary needs to be reduced. That is a line item. I won't allow that because we have what's called a segmented budget. A segmented budget means that we have major categories. Of course, there's lines in there. And we will have a copy or copies of a document, which is not part of the warrant, that will allow you to see all the individual lines. But there's two advantages to doing a segmented budget. Number one, you could see the big numbers. Number two, if anybody is really passionate about making changes inside the line item, I can't allow it, because if we end this meeting without a budget that is balanced, so if somebody says, I want to reduce something by 100,000, well, my question to them will be, well, where are you going to put that 100,000? Because I need to end up with a balanced budget. If we do not end up with a balanced budget, we're going to end up having to come back in the fall to a second town meeting called a special town meeting. I don't think anybody wants to do that. However, I will be very respectful and mindful of anybody that wishes to make a change within the categories. Why? Because if we emerge from this year's town meeting with a balanced budget, and there's a person or two that feels very strongly that within education or public works or human services, some money needs to be moved around, we can do that after the budget is passed. And what I would do is I would work with you. I would recommend meeting with the body or the authority for that particular category. So probably I would, suggest that you attend or make a request to the select board to have a public comment opportunity to speak about what you had brought up at town meeting that could not be treated, meaning that you wanted to make a line item change. And then I would say to you, ask subsequent to that, could you be included on the agenda for an upcoming meeting? And then we've got time between now and the next time we pass a budget to hear your concerns and evaluate the wisdom or the merits of what it is that you're suggesting, and then go through a process. And that process could result in money being shifted around within the segment, whether it's education, public works, or human services. So again, I'm not going to allow people to break up the budget into lines and having discussions or motions or votes. We're going to vote for the entire budget as you see it. But if you feel strongly that in any one of these categories, some money needs to be taken away or some money needs to be increased, we'll allow that. I won't allow it because I'm the town moderator and my authority ends when town meeting ends. But certainly I will be happy to be part of a process to direct you in the right direction so that your issue can still be addressed. So I hope that that's helpful. I think that we have an opportunity to have a great town meeting. I hope to see many people there. I hope that you'll reach out to me. My email is damorrecos@gmail.com. It's my last name, Damore, Damore, and then COS, like companies, or Charlie, Oscar, Sam, @gmail.com. Reach out to town administrator. Rebecca, reach out to select board members. If you have any questions, be prepared, read the warrants, look at the summaries, prepare your thoughts if you want to speak to an article, and prepare the words that need to be placed on that amendment form in advance if you have to, or even before the meeting with me, so that we can help you be prepared so that you can make some critical decisions that will help move our town forward. Thank you again for your time. Look for at least 3 more roundtables coming up in the next week or so. You take care.